Hi, welcome to the newest episode of Sports Talk Central. I'm your host, Adeep Mahmood, who's my normal co-host Hunter, and today we're going to be talking about little CBA talk, some Ravens Steelers, some previous Super Bowl, and then some notable updates on the Virginia Tech football team. So let's start with the CBA talks.
Is there really an update there?
Well, they actually have a plan. I'm going to share. What it is
I saw a couple of things about it. They're going to have a universal DH, it looks like, if they get a deal, which is some people like it, some people hate it. I'm in favor of it. So,
yeah. So let me just share the screen here. Okay. So here. Okay. So basically, let me start from the top. Rob Manfred did meet on Thursday. He said, "Well, we don't anticipate spring training being delayed," but then okay. It's like
ignore that. That's just such cap.
Yeah, and then the other thing was about like the good faith negotiation. I don't understand that one, but we now know the plan. And my first thought is they don't have a deal, which isn't good. But I will say that what they have offered. What?
Are they close to a deal, though?
No, they're closer, but that's not saying much given what they were. So basically, like you said, it's basically, yeah, it's what you said, like universal DH, expanded playoffs, I think will be a part of it, because keep in mind, the core notion of the CBA is to prevent tanking, right? So draft lottery is going to be there. The only thing I will say is, like, people are saying, well, the draft lottery is going to stop tanking. The 76ers were tanking, and the NBA has a draft lottery. So, to me, what they would have to do is do it in a way where, because what the draft lottery would do is saying that the team with the worst record is not guaranteed to have the number one overall pick, but they still have the highest probability. So either what you would have to do is you take like the 10 worst teams, and the team with the 10th worst record gets the highest odds of the number one pick. So it's kind of like reverse order. So you want to be around that 10 range, or you do something where it's the top, like if you have 5 teams, like each, like those 5 teams have an equal chance of getting a number one overall pick. So you want to make it so that's impossible, or not impossible, that you don't have a high probability of it. So it's, to me, the whole draft lottery really depends on the weight of it. Because if it's a simple thing of, oh, we'll do a draft lottery, but everything else remains the same, tanking's still going to happen, because you still have a higher probability of that number one overall pick if the worse record you have. So it has to be done in a way where where the probability of that pick isn't even high. Also, expanded playoffs. The more teams make the playoffs, the more teams are in the playoffs.
Do you like the expanded playoffs idea?
If it means that more teams are trying, then sure.
And again, I'm just making sure. Would this be just almost, because usually I'm like trying to understand this. How many teams, if this were to go through, how many?
I would imagine 7 teams in each.
7 teams?
Yeah.
So what is it, like one team gets a bye almost or something?
Something like that. It'll be kind of like the NFL. But yeah,
that almost like does away with the wild card game or something.
Yeah. Oh no, it'll be what it was in 2020, where it's more than likely it's like a wild card best of 3, then it's and then it's the conference. But no, I mean, it's the expanded playoffs. I think the point is there are about 3 different ways. There's the salary floor, the draft lottery, and the expanded playoffs, and I think another aspect. All of those aspects have to be in conjunction with each other to disincentivize tanking. So I think that's the main point in all of it. It's not just one of these things, it's all of them. Okay. Right. The other thing that people are going to bring up here is, if you see the tweet by Evan Drellich, the first reply, he basically, there's this idea that players within the first 3 years don't make much money. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to get it so that players who make money. So the league was saying, okay, we'll give them, we'll do like 600,000 or 630,000, whatever it is, and the players wanted 750. So there's two things. One, it's a flat amount, 630,000, and you have to spend at least 630,000 for each player. So each player for the first 3 years would get that much. Now, obviously, the second part, and teams could pay more if they wish. Yeah, teams aren't going to do that. So you can almost ignore that one. The second one, though, I like, and this goes into my main conclusion of they're closer, but not. Well, like I said, it's not saying a lot. It's a tiered proposal, right? So it's for the first year 615, second year 650, and then the third year up to the third year 725. So in other words, I like that idea of like a tiered system where it's like 650 year one, 700 year two, 750 year three. I like that, but it seems like what they're doing is with all the core agreements and then with all the core some of the stuff they have agreed upon, it seems like they're finding common ground. So that's always good. That's always good to see. But at the end of the day, some of these details, it's going to be within the details. If guys within the first 3 years make money, how is that structured? If it's a draft lottery, how is the weight going to be distributed? If there's a salary floor, is it going to be a hard floor right away? Or is it going to be like 65, 70, 75, 80? If it's luxury tax, how is that going to work? So all these ideas are good and they all agree upon it. It's more so on the details, like how you implemented, how it favors the owners and the players. Because I think we both agree, whatever this new CBA is, it's going to favor the owners.
It always does, right?
Yeah.
This is the why are we in a lockout? Because the players feel like shit. Crap. Sorry, bad language.
Yeah,
they feel like crap. That's and the owners aren't budging. And you have stupid statements like Rob Manfred saying, it's just like I don't think he understands, what's at stake here. He's saying that spring training is going to start on time, buddy. The Super Bowl is tomorrow. The spring training is supposed to start in a week?
5 days.
5 days? Good luck. Sorry. I mean, you'd be lucky to probably get a deal done by March at this point. I saw this today. They met for not even an hour, and nothing was no progress.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I do feel comforted by the fact that we are seeing common ground in some areas. Like we are seeing some of the common ground. Now, again, they have to now understand, okay, we both want this. Now let's hammer out the details, and that's always going to be the tough part. So let's talk about the next story, which is Kyler Murray. So Kyler Murray did delete all his pictures of Cardinals stuff.
I did see that.
What were your thoughts on this whole Kyler Murray saga?
I'm not really sure. Sorry, I might something loaded up on my PC here. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. I mean, is he unhappy with Arizona? And then it was hilarious as well. The Cardinals then trolled him back. They deleted all of their stuff on Instagram except for two things like Kyler Murray did. So because they wanted to get back at it a little bit. But I mean, I want to say it's nothing, but is it really?
He just had his third year. He just finished his third year, I believe.
Like I think it will probably end up being nothing. I think it definitely should be watched, of course, but right now, I mean, he might be playing mind games with people. I've already seen it either with the weird Yinzers playing the jokes that they could trade for Kyler Murray. Good luck. That's not happening. But I'm not reading too much into it yet. What are you thinking?
I think that it tells me that a few things. One, Cliff Kingsbury's future is in doubt. Cliff Kingsbury as the head coach, I think his future is hit.
He's not that good of a coach as well.
Yeah, no. Yeah, because I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Kyler and Cliff have the same agent. And the reason why Kyler is starting in Arizona and not Josh Rosen is because Cliff Kingsbury said he would draft Kyler Murray number 1 overall if he had the chance. So those two are tied, and part of it I think that Kingsbury is. If his future is in doubt, Kyler's future is in doubt. The second thing is contract. I think because there is that report that he wanted 50 to 55 million. He's not getting that. I don't think he's getting 35 million a year. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's a contract thing. I mean, I don't know the guy, but he does come off a little bit of he does have an ego. Like if you listen to him in interviews, if you see him in the games, if you were to tell me that he does have a arrogant attitude, I would buy into it a little bit. Now maybe this is, and that kind of goes into his approach. Like maybe he feels like he's owed, to a degree, that he's owed his contract, and that would explain why he's doing this weird new age social media thing. Because my first thought, it could be that he's switching agencies or something, but because agencies might want to try to rebrand, but that doesn't appear to be the case. The timing is really weird. I mean, I would say that he's going to try to leverage. I'll put it this way: don't be shocked if he does sign a contract, whatever contract he signed, that there is no non-baseball clause. And what I mean by that is this is him trying to think he's smarter than what he actually is, because remember, he has a parachute that other quarterbacks do not have. He has the baseball thing going for him. So he can say, I can go to baseball. And I think part of that could be the Cardinals said, no, you can't. No, like if you sign a contract with us, we want 120% of your attention with us. So that might be another aspect of it where he might be they might want to pay him the money he wants. I don't think that's the case, but something close to it. But it's also more if he wants to try to be the next Bo Jackson, or he wants to be that, but he's not getting that opportunity. So he's kind of doing this really weird thing. So it's definitely something to watch out for. I think that if he were to become available, I could definitely see teams going after him because of what he can do on the field. I don't know if what his trade value would be. I don't know what his contract value would be, but it's something to watch out for, especially with all the talent he has at his receiving core. So let's talk Ravens and Steelers now. So Steelers, have they officially named Omar Khan as the
GM? They're interviewing a lot of candidates still. It won't be named until after the draft, so they still have a while. But I think they're interviewing. I think one of the player personnel people in Tampa Bay. They're interviewing, I think, someone from the Chiefs as well, if I'm not mistaken. They're really branching out and making sure that they cover all the grounds. I think maybe also get some fresh ideas into the organization. I think at this point, there's definitely, I think, a decent chance that, that they go outside the organization. They did confirm the Terrell Austin hire this week, but as long as Mike Tomlin is there, he's going to call the plays. They also hired a new receivers coach. He was with Carolina last year. He was big with the development of DJ Moore, so I think that should make some Steelers fans comfortable with maybe getting Chase Claypool being better next year, and Deontay Johnson with his drops toward the end of the year, and all that stuff. So they still have to get an offensive line coach as well. I'm not really sure who that's going to be. That'll probably be outside the organization.
Not Mike Munchak. I don't think
would love it. I would love if he came back. He did.
And his assistant, I believe, the next offensive line coach for, I believe, the Vikings. So they can't even get the Mike Munchak's main assistant.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, again, it's going to have to be outside the organization. Again, I would love Mike. He did a great job here, though. Would he actually move back? I'm not really sure, but great that TJ Watt won Defensive Player of the Year, well deserved. Wasn't even close, I think, in my opinion. He was by far and away the NFL's best defensive player this year. I don't want to hear any, crap about Aaron Donald. And I love Aaron Donald, but he wasn't as good as TJ or Micah Parsons. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year, which is perfectly fine, I think, for him. So I think that really covers it for the Steelers. I know Justin Tucker won the NFL's best moment because of that 66-yard kick and how the Lions are cursed. Anything else that happened with Baltimore this week?
First of all, I love the interview saying that he was thinking God, and he was like God wanted the Ravens to win. It's like, wait, so God pretty much hates the Lions. So I was like, okay, that's funny. Main thing is Martindale's now the defensive coordinator for the Giants. So he got that job there, which that's expected. Rob Ryan is now a defensive consultant with the Raiders. And then Drew Wilkins, who was the Ravens' outside linebackers coach, he actually went ahead and went to is the outside linebackers coach for the Giants. So some of the defensive coaches were moving around, and the Ravens basically were moving some of these pieces. They got in some of these replacements. So George Gotsey is now the tight ends coach. He was heavy. He was the co-offense coordinator for the Dolphins, the tight ends coach for the Dolphins as well. He was the offensive coordinator for the Texans for a little bit with Bill O'Brien. He's very much a Bill Belichick guy because he was with the Patriots, Bill Belichick. He was with the Texans when it was Bill O'Brien, and he was with the Dolphins when they had Flores. So that was the first thing. Then they also went to the Dolphins organization once again for the outside linebacker coach with Rob Leonard. Don't know too much about him. And then this is the more exciting one. So the inside linebackers coach, which was held by Rob Ryan, is now held by Zachary Orr. And if you think that name's familiar, here's why. In 2014, Zachary Orr was an undrafted pick by the Ravens. And he spent 2014, 2015 on special teams. Mm-hmm. Now, 2016, he started as the weak side linebacker. And in the 15 games he played, he had 132 tackles, 5 passes defended, 3 interceptions, and a forced fumble. So he was a second-team All-Pro. So you'll be thinking, oh, this guy played really well in 2016. Why is he coaching? Well, what happened was he was injured. And there was a neck spinal injury there that he had. The doctors said that it'll be very risky for him to play. I'll put it that way. There was a chance of paralysis if he played. Like it was that serious. And the Ravens were very close to giving this guy an extension based off that his 2016 season. So he retired and then went into coaching. He was a defensive consultant for the Ravens. He was the Jaguars D-line coach. Now he's coming back to the Ravens as inside linebackers coach. This guy was a really good tackler, so he's definitely going to help Patrick Queen. And what I love about this guy is this. He was an undrafted player. He had to work his way into a starting role. So, one, players are going to respond well to other former players. They should respond even better if such former player was an undrafted guy who had to work his way in through his career. And this is a guy who's very talented. So I really like that because Rob Ryan, I'll be honest, I wasn't too impressed with Rob Ryan. I feel like if he wasn't related to Rex, if he wasn't the son of Buddy Ryan, no one would hire him. He's not that great. He's not that great of a coach. So now you replace him with a former coach. Great. Former player. Great. And then the other one, we didn't get to it last week, but the Ravens went ahead. Dick Cass, who was the president for the Ravens, he's 76 years old. He was there for 17 years. He's going to retire at the end of April. So the Ravens went ahead and they hired Sashi Brown. So if you remember him, the former GM of the Browns, he was with the Wizards for a little bit, and I believe he was with Monumental Sports. So he is not too much involved in football operations. It's more business side of things, like when you go to the stadium and all that other stuff. I really like this. When you think about it, the NBA mindset right now is you have your star players and then you build around them. What do you have with the Ravens now? Lamar, Mark Andrews, Hollywood, who has his 5th-year option extended. So they're going to extend Hollywood's 5th-year option. They're going to try to extend him. But you have your star players. Now you need your backups. You need your role players. And this is a guy that has the NFL mindset, the NBA mindset. He's a very analytical person. This is a guy that fits what they're trying to do right now. So a lot of people were upset with that Sashi Brown because obviously he had because of his experience with the Cleveland Browns. But he's not. He's doing a different job. So that was the other thing. And then let's just talk. And then that's pretty much all there was for the Ravens. Let's move on to the Super Bowl talk. What are your thoughts on the Super Bowl this year?
I mean, it's gonna be. It's going to be really close, I think. I don't think this is going to be a blowout like we saw last year when Tampa Bay just took Kansas City to the woodshed. The Bengals' offensive line definitely does scare me. I will say that, Aaron Donald making havoc up there is something that could happen. Von Miller, he's going to give it his all as well. But, this is also a game that's between two new teams that, the casuals probably haven't paid attention to a lot this year just because, oh, wow, there's no Tom Brady and there's no Patrick Mahomes and all that. But, I still think this is going to be a pretty good game. I have the Rams winning by a little less than a touchdown, like a 31-27, 28-24 kind of game. But, again, the big question is, can, the Rams defense come up with some stops because the Bengals offense has been really good in these playoffs. Who's going to stop Jamar? Is Jalen Ramsey going to stop Jamar Chase? That's going to be a big matchup. The Rams defensive line versus the Bengals offensive line. How will Stafford play? He's at home. This is, it's basically a home game Super Bowl for them. So I'm really curious to see how the crowd factors in. I'm excited to watch it. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail right ahead with the Rams defensive line versus the Bengals offensive line. So I would imagine they would probably put Aaron Donald right beside the Bengals right guard because that's the biggest place. That's the biggest weakness of the Bengals. You said the game would be close. Look, I think the game could be close. I wouldn't be shocked if it's a bigger margin than you think because when you think about it, you just said yourself, the Bengals offensive line is not good. It's not great. They can protect Joe Burrow, but can you protect him for that long with Aaron Donald and Von Miller and Leonard Floyd? So if they can't do that, then I could see the Bengals. No, so I can see the Rams having a bigger lead. So just because of that matchup. And look, they can protect Joe Burrow if they can just tackle Joe Burrow. Because Joe Burrow had a couple of those runs against the Chiefs.
He's mobile at times.
Yeah. So that's the first one.
Good point.
Yeah. And then Cooper Kupp versus was it Mike Hilton? That's gonna be an interesting matchup. Then the other one, look, Eli Apple has talked a lot of stuff for a guy on his third team.
Yeah, he talks a lot of shit, doesn't he? He was going at Tyreek Hill on Twitter. I'm like, okay, I understand not a lot of people like Tyreek Hill and for good reason. He kind of is a crappy person. But, buddy, he dusted you that entire game. And I understand your team won, and rightfully so you can talk crap, but going at a guy who dusted you all game is probably not the way to do it. And just overall, look what he did with the Giants. He talked all that crap, and what happened? Got cut again. I'm sure this will probably not be the last time he gets cut.
Yeah, no. And then, let's talk about that matchup because he might be going up against his old teammate in Odell. And he's like, and this is, I never liked Odell, but I'm not the biggest Odell Beckham fan. I really hope Odell Beckham has a really good game. I really hope, because that quote just irked me the wrong way, about how Eli Apple just wants to be on one-on-one coverage versus Odell Beckham. Because, Odell, he might dust you on multiple occasions. And and if he doesn't, and if he and Cooper Kupp, especially with Tyler Higbee not playing, if those two, Cooper Kupp and Odell, can eat, this could be a long day for the Bengals defense because if those guys can make plays, now you got to think about Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson and the running and Sony Michel, the running backs they have. So and then once you bring in the run game, and now it's a tie. Now it's how often is the Bengals defense on the field? Now which kind of then puts the Bengals offense in more predictable situations and that. So to me, that's gonna be the two matchups for me to watch: the Odell Beckham versus Eli Apple, or Woozier, whatever. Those matchups. That's gonna be really interesting. But yes, at the end of the day, it's going to be the Rams defensive line versus the Bengals offensive line. Who wins that most of the time? That's going to be who. And then whoever has the most turnovers. Because if Matt Stafford can just, I like Matt Stafford. If Matt Stafford can just not turn the ball over, they should be in good shape.
I will also say this: there's a rumor that Sean McVay could retire from coaching after this game. I don't know if you saw that, but he was talking to the media and basically said, I want to have a family and I want to be there with them. And he really didn't commit to coming back next year. So
I don't.
He could ride off into the sunset if he wants to.
I don't. Do you really? He's 36 years old. I don't see him what I see, I could see him doing something where he coaches for another 5 to 10 years and then moves into like a director or player personnel role where he still is involved in the game, but it's not a day-to-day thing. So if he has a family, he could still spend more time with that. He can also go into commentary because Sean McVay comes from a football family. And if I'm pretty sure he remembers more stuff about football than he does in his everyday life. Like, did you see that interview he did 2 years ago where he, someone was asking him about, 2 months ago in this game, this play, and then he was just, rattling it off, he had photographic memory of that play in that game that happened 2 months ago. He's that type of mindset. I don't see him retiring. I think I could see him retiring in his mid-40s and basically say, I'm going to go be involved in football, but not be a head coach, to do something more where he spends more time with his family. But I don't think that's the case, especially since who replaces him? Raheem Morris?
Yeah, I don't know.
So, I mean, that's the tough part. And so I don't think that would be happening. I don't think he would. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if, like I said, if he retires from coaching in his 40s. To say that he's going to be done at 36, I doubt it. So I'm rooting for the Rams mainly because Eric Weddle is playing. I want to see Eric Weddle get a ring because I think that is such a great story, being retired for 2 years.
That would be really cool. And he could ride off into the sunset there.
Yeah, and then do you think, and here's the thing, do you think Eric Weddle, if the Rams were to win, do you think Eric Weddle, what do you think about Eric Weddle's Hall of Fame case?
I think he's in the Hall of Very Good. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's close. Yeah, it's close.
It's close, and I wonder.
The joke was that DeMarcus Ware didn't get in the Hall of Fame this weekend. That was, I think, a disgrace.
Devin Hester didn't get into Hall of Fame either.
That one I can understand just because that's pure special teams, but DeMarcus Ware with his resume, that's not first ballot. I mean, don't know what we're doing here then if that's not one of the best pass rushers of all time.
Yeah, Hall of Fame voting is just really weird. So let's move on to Virginia Tech football. This is Virginia Tech sports in general because the women's basketball did upset Georgia Tech.
Awesome win. Yeah, you saw that cross up? Whoo! Yep. That was unreal.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously women's basketball is something that a lot of Virginia Tech fans don't really talk about too much. They probably should talk about them because
that's a tournament team this year.
Yeah. And then the men's basketball, we've been a little bit on the hot streak. Now, the margin for error is very, very, very slim.
They got to almost win out.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Yes, tonight, that's a big one if they can get back. If they can get back to 500, I mean, you have Virginia coming up, who they're probably out of the tournament right now as well. You have North Carolina; they're in the tournament, but that's a win. Those are two winnable games. If you can get to 9-7 at the end of this homestand, going into your final 4 games, you got a little bit of a shot. Like you said, though, there's no margin for error.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because I think Particular needs to start more. Maddox needs to play more minutes. Storm Murphy has been playing better now, which is great to see. So we'll see what they do there. And then also the NIL deal. They the Fanatics. What were your thoughts on the Fanatics deal with the Virginia Tech made?
Which one? I must have missed that, to be honest.
Yeah, so basically Virginia Tech reached a deal with Fanatics
Okay.
Kind of like like you know how college is like the NIL stuff. Like
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
I apologize. I must have just somehow missed
Yeah.
that from their Twitter. I mean, it's with where NIL deals are these days, I'm not surprised just because I think almost every Power Five school is going to have something like that in the near future. And Fanatics, that's a well represented brand slash or company, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and let me just I'm gonna
You're gonna pull it up.
yeah I'm gonna pull it up here.
Let's see
So
it.
yeah, this is
There it is. Yeah, I saw something about that. I just didn't click on the link.
Yeah, so pretty much they have a deal with Fanatics. But yeah, that's pretty much. I think it's big because obviously we do have this is prime time for Virginia Tech to rebrand itself. This is very prime time for them to rebrand themselves. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see on that front. Women's softball starting, wrestling is there, and I'm pretty sure Virginia Tech baseball is going to start. So I'm paying close attention to that one because I mentioned a couple times on the show in past episodes, Gavin Cross, the outfielder, he is considered one of the top college prospects. So that's going to be interesting to follow. Obviously, obviously basketball, and I don't think there's really anything else in football too much, but that we'll end the show. We'll end the show with that note. Next week we're gonna recap the Super Bowl. We're gonna do a post Super Bowl mock draft. We'll do we'll do four rounds.
Don't take Tyler Linderbaum this time.
I'm not. Actually, I'm not going. I'm actually thinking it's tough because there's other options Trevor. There's so many guys I like Trevor Penning for the Ravens, but Trevor Penning also had the most penalties in D1. So I'm not a fan of that. Drafting a center in the first round, especially at 14, is not. It's typically I think that's not the best value in my opinion. I think for me, if I'm the Ravens, I'm targeting David Ojabo or George Karlaftis. Preferably Ojabo because obviously Mike McDonald was at Michigan, David Ojabo and Odafe Oweh were high school teammates, and having basically two guys who are 6'5", 250 can run 4.40s on both sides with potential with Matabike or a Tyus Bowser or a Calais Campbell in the middle, and then you have Patrick Queen. That's a scary matchup. I've also seen some mocks with Derek Stingley Jr. dropping past the top 5, top 7, maybe past top 10. I mean, that's Derek Stingley Jr. is a guy for me that if he's there at 14, I don't care how much of a needed offensive line or edge or defensive line you have, you take that guy. You take that guy, especially with Jamar, his experience covering Jamar Chase. So, and then obviously Kyle Hamilton, that's not going to happen.
No way.
Yeah, that is not that is not going to happen. So we'll do that mock draft, and we'll talk about mainly the mock draft. We'll also talk about what we want them to do in the draft as well, our thoughts. So as well, and so we'll end the show there. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll be back next Saturday, probably around the same time.